Hi, Julianne. Thank you so much for talking to me today. I'm so excited to have you on board to create a supportive environment for all those FIFO families out there as an extension of all the support that I'm already putting out there in the community, and I know wonderful people like you are as well. So I'd like to introduce you first. So this is Julianne Davies, everybody. She is a lifestyle coach, a direct sales coach, and a trainer, and an amazing human. I've known Julianne for a couple of years now, and she's very active in the community, supporting other women and her favourite charities. So thank you, Julianne, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited.
I know. So my first question to you is, what are some issues that you've faced as a FIFO family? Because you've been doing it for quite some time, haven't you?
Yes, so we're going into our 4th year now, and probably some of the biggest challenges that we faced with around FIFO is, I guess, just that lack of constant communication. We've obviously gone from having, Jonathan at home and seeing him every day and talking to him every day. So when we started FIFO, that was the challenge. It was obviously not being able to talk to him face to face. I mean, obviously there was still communication, but just that face-to-face communication was probably the biggest challenge. Yeah. And also not just my son not having dad around, because sons and their dads, boys and their dads are very close. So there was that period of adjustment where Jackson and I had to reconnect. Yeah. And obviously I was dealing with some challenges, with the whole not having dad around, but I also had to make sure that Jackson was front and foremost. So I think it was just that lack of consistent face-to-face communication and just readjusting to the new lifestyle as a family.
Sure. And how did you overcome those, Julianne?
Oh, golly. I guess probably one of the things that we did was we started to have a level of acceptance that this was something that I couldn't change.
That is so important, isn't it?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So rather than fighting it, what I started to do was work with it. Yeah. And I think for me it was really about that level of acceptance, that this was how the new routine was going to go, and how could I take personal responsibility for the changes, because Jonathan was off working, he had a new routine, he had new challenges, but I was at home, so I was really the one that had to keep the campfires burning, so to speak. So for me, it was about, well, what can I do for me and for the family that I could then trickle through to Jonathan, because obviously he had his own challenges. So I think there was a lot of acceptance. There was also, I needed to reach out to other people who were doing it well. Yeah. So obviously I met you, and you very generously gave me the book, and I think that was really the turning point for me. It was about finding people who were doing it well, accepting that this was a situation, and then finding a new way of doing things.
Sure. And how did the book in particular help you, do you think?
Oh, wow. It was, yes, the book. Yes, it's a constant companion for me. I think probably the biggest thing was that you spoke in very real terms. You had some very good action steps that we could take. I liked also that the book was sort of in parts, so I could, when you have a challenge, I could actually go to the book and find the chapter or the strategy on that. I didn't necessarily have to read the whole book from front to cover. Front to back, sorry. And that was really, I think, probably the biggest thing for me, was the fact that there was some really actionable steps in there. And as new things came up, all I had to do was actually find that chapter and read it, and then implement the strategies based on my circumstances, if that makes sense.
Right. Makes perfect sense. And so For other families that may be struggling right now, what would be your main bit of advice for them?
I think probably one of the things that I really had to develop was a sense of empathy. And by that I mean that I really had to step into, I guess I had to step out of my situation and step into the bigger picture. And I also had to step into Jonathan's shoes. And what I did was, when I started to have a sense of empathy towards what was going on in his life, and then also have a step out of my situation and look at it from a holistic point of view, like almost getting up into your helicopter and, you know, having a good look around.
Yeah.
I got a greater perspective. So
that is
what I
good advice.
Yeah, I think probably what happens is when we're in it, when we're in the situation, we can't actually see the solutions. So by having I guess I projected less about me and more about him. And once I started getting that degree of empathy, I could actually change the way that I was doing things to be more productive for me and for the family. Let's face it, women are the glue that hold the family together.
That is
so. If I know. And I think once I started to realize the power of me and what I had and what I could create and what us as a family could do, that's when I really started to make serious, I guess, progression. Another thing that I did is I never went into victim mentality.
Yes.
And I think what tends to happen is we go, oh, poor me, oh, it's terrible. But what we can do is actually say, you know what? Yes, this situation does suck, but we are doing this for a greater purpose.
Yes.
And when I started to do that, when I started to be grateful for things that we had, when I started to I guess also have that degree of empathy for what, you know, Johnny was going through. I also started to think that there are lots of people who have work away husbands and wives. I started to have an appreciation for what I had and started to become a little bit more grateful. So a few things, I started to have a bit of empathy towards, you know, what was happening with my husband, because let's face it, he's doing it, I'm at home. I got that higher perspective, so I got into my helicopter and started looking at from a holistic point of view rather than just in it. And then I just removed myself from that victim mentality and started to go, how can I make this better?
That's awesome advice, Julianne, for everybody out there, especially the victim bit, because that's so suffocating when you're in that. Instead of asking, what can I do now? Right now, what am I capable of? Even the smallest thing, because I'm really capable. I can cope with this, but what can I do first?
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that I did as well was I started to change my emotion through motion. So those of you who follow me on Facebook, you actually may or may not see my beautiful sunrise photos. What I started to do in the morning was I would, rather than hitting the snooze button, I would actually get up and move, and I would go for a walk. I'm very lucky my mum lives with us, so I can go and do that. But what I started to do was actually get into motion, create that really good feel-good emotion through going out and just walking and being out in the sunshine.
And setting your mindset for the day.
Yes, absolutely. And it's funny because when I don't do that, I sort of feel like I'm missing something in my life. So, and that's a really great skill. Or you could just get a really awesome playlist together and dance around the house, have your own in-home disco, and really create a good mood for the day.
That is a great idea. I like that. Dancing in the morning. Why not?
Yes. Absolutely. In your pajamas.
What FIFO life for you? What are you grateful for it? So we hear a lot of the negatives around it. There's a lot of skills that can help us with those ups and downs. But overall, there's a lot to be grateful for as well. So what area or even thing are you grateful for living this FIFO life?
Golly, so much. Well, one thing, I guess probably for me, and I think for a lot of us, we all are seeking happiness. And when there is that element of unhappiness in our life, it actually starts to trickle through to all of our areas of our life, our mental health, our physical health, our relationships. And one of the things that we have actually gotten back in our life is happiness and joy, because we were able to change our circumstances financially, and with that obviously came a little bit of joy, and then we've just built on that. So for us, look, we're not perfect. We still have our challenges as a couple, but one of the things that I started to focus on was the joy that, having him home for 6 months of 6 months of the year, because he does it in 3, was actually really good. And those tough times were really outweighed by the fact that we've actually created a lot of happiness, and we've also grown as individuals and as a family. So that whole, I guess probably what we've done is we've sort of taken the bull by the horns and gone, you know what, how can we make this the best situation that we possibly can? We know that there are some challenges, but those challenges can be fixed through really taking them on board and understanding how we can fix it.
And as you said before, acceptance and reframing it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Accepting that this is the way it is, that, we all have to earn a living. Some of us choose to earn a living where we come home to our families overnight. Some of us choose to earn a living where we actually work away. Now, it's just not just related to, or it's not just FIFO. We have people who are airline pilots. We have people who are in the Army, in the Navy, in the Air Force. So this is not a new thing. It's just that it's a little bit more common now. Yeah. So I just went, you know what? We can do this. We can thrive, not just survive. So we went, let's really make the best of this situation rather than focusing on all the negative things. Because what I found was that when I started to focus on those negative things, it was almost like the universe was throwing more stuff at me. Whereas when I focus on the positives, it's almost like, wow, you meet all these amazing people who are doing really awesome things, and it's like the universe is delivering it all to you.
It is an awesome community. It is an awesome community. And you're right. What you focus on, you notice. So, if you want to notice the really positive stuff and create more from that, focus on that. Thank you so much, Julianne. I'm sure everybody out there is going to get so many gems from that. And as Julianne said, she's very active on Facebook. At the moment, she's doing a Facebook Live series to help us all get our faces out there, and that's brilliant. So go on to Julianne Davies and check her out there. And of course, please join our community on the Separated by Work Facebook page, where we share information and insightful tips and just things to help you through on your journey. And we encourage you all to share as well. So thank you very much again, Julianne, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks.